Have you ever known a name that echoed through history, sparking a flame that refused to be extinguished? Enter the world of Fred Hampton, a revolutionary force whose life was a symphony of resistance against the oppressive notes of his time. Born into the heart of Chicago, Hampton's journey commenced amidst the harsh realities of a divided city, where the color of one's skin often determined the path one walked. It was in the crucible of inequality that Hampton's young mind began to question the world around him. Why should the world be this way? The inquiry echoed in the alleyways of poverty and resonated through the classrooms of activism, shaping a passionate advocate for change. Hampton found his stage within the ranks of the Black Panther Party, rising to the position of chairman for the Illinois chapter. His words, a potent elixir, stirred the hearts of the oppressed. His rallying cry, unity. The Black Panther Party, under his leadership, became a symphony of voices challenging the oppressive symphony of the establishment. Yet, as Hampton's influence grew, so did the fear of those in power. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, shrouded in the cloak of paranoia, perceived Hampton not as a leader, but as a threat. The COINTELPRO program, a dark chapter in American history, sought to silence Hampton and quell the rising tide of the Black Panther Party. But Hampton, a flame unextinguished, continued to burn bright. His charm, his ideas, his unwavering commitment to justice, they posed a danger to those who sought to maintain the status quo. The climax came on a fateful night, a night that shook the nation. A controversial raid on Hampton's apartment, orchestrated to crush the spirit of rebellion. The outcome? Tragedy. The echoes of that night still reverberate through the corridors of power. The story, however, does not end in tragedy. The legacy of Fred Hampton lives on, an indomitable force that transcends time. His impact on the civil rights movement continues to inspire generations. This is not just a story. It's a call to remember, a call to reflect, and a call to carry the torch forward. So buckle up for a journey through history. Discover the man behind the legend. Join us as we unravel the life, the ideas, and the indelible mark left by Fred Hampton. His name may have been silenced, but his spirit refuses to be extinguished. Early life. In the heart of Chicago's bustling Proviso Township, amidst the stark realities of racial segregation, Fred Hampton was born on August 30, 1948. Born to Francis in Iberia, Hampton, his childhood played out against the backdrop of a city divided by race and economic disparity. Early on, Hampton's curiosity became a guiding force. Growing up in a neighborhood where the struggle for equality was palpable, he questioned the inherent injustices surrounding him. The stark disparities in living conditions between predominantly black and white neighborhoods fueled his early understanding of systemic racism. Education became Hampton's ticket to empowerment. Attending Proviso East High School, he showed not only academic prowess, but also a burgeoning passion for social justice. The civil rights movement of the 1960s, with figures like Martin Luther King Jr. at the forefront, reverberated through the halls of his high school. The seed of activism found fertile ground in Hampton's mind. As a teenager, Hampton navigated the turbulent waters of adolescence while immersing himself in the civil rights landscape. The Black Panther Party, emerging as a powerful force for change, resonated deeply with him. The party's commitment to self-defense against police brutality and its dedication to uplifting the black community struck a chord with the young activists. Hampton's journey into activism took a more tangible form during his college years. Enrolling at Triton Junior College, he became a charismatic leader, organizing rallies and advocating for black students' rights. His oratory skills, already honed in the fires of Proviso East, became a potent tool for mobilization. the flames of activism burned brighter as Hampton transitioned to Roosevelt University. His involvement with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People showcased a commitment to challenging racial inequalities. Hampton's ability to bridge gaps and unite diverse groups marked him as a rising star in the fight for justice. In the crucible of the 1960s, Hampton's early life laid the foundation for a formidable force in the civil rights movement. The confluence of a racially divided Chicago, an education steeped in activism, and the burgeoning Black Panther Party set the stage for a leader who would defy expectations and challenge the very fabric of systemic oppression. The journey had just begun for Fred Hampton, a journey that would weave through the tapestry of history, leaving an indelible mark on the struggle for equality, leadership in the Black Panther Party. As the 1960s unfolded, a tempest of change swept across the United States, and at the epicenter of this storm stood the Black Panther Party, a revolutionary force for racial justice. At the helm of this movement was Fred Hampton, a young leader whose charisma and conviction would galvanize a generation. Hampton's entry into the Black Panther Party marked a pivotal moment. In 1968, at the tender age of 20, he rose to prominence as the deputy chairman of the Illinois chapter. His ascent was meteoric, propelled by a rare combination of strategic acumen, eloquence, and an unyielding commitment to the cause. Under Hampton's leadership, the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party became a beacon of hope in the struggle against systemic oppression. The party's 10-point program, outlining demands for justice, equality, and an end to police brutality, echoed loudly through the streets of Chicago. Hampton's ability to articulate the urgency of these demands drew disenfranchised communities under the banner of a movement that transcended racial lines. A defining feature of Hampton's leadership was his commitment to unity. In an era fraught with division, he forged alliances with diverse groups, recognizing that solidarity was the linchpin of change. The Rainbow Coalition, a groundbreaking alliance between the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, and the Young Patriots, exemplified Hampton's vision of a united front against societal ills. The Black Panther Party, often portrayed as a symbol of militant resistance, found in Hampton a leader who sought not only to resist, but also to build. Free breakfast programs, health clinics, and educational initiatives burgeoned under his guidance. For Hampton, empowerment extended beyond rhetoric. It manifested in tangible programs that uplifted the very community the party served. However, as the Panthers' influence grew, so did the scrutiny of the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover, then director of the FBI, viewed the Black Panther Party as a radical threat to the established order. Hampton's ability to unite disparate groups and his charismatic leadership made him a prime target for the government's covert machinations. The year 1969 would cast a long, ominous shadow over Hampton's leadership. The FBI, in collaboration with the Chicago Police Department, orchestrated a pre-dawn raid on Hampton's apartment. The outcome was tragic. Fred Hampton, just 21 years old, was shot and killed in his bed. His legacy, though marred by tragedy, endures a symbol of resilience, courage, and the ongoing struggle for justice. Ideas and philosophy. Fred Hampton's ideas and philosophy were a mosaic of revolutionary thought, forged in the crucible of civil rights activism and shaped by a profound commitment to justice. At the core of Hampton's philosophy was the belief in the transformative power of collective action, a force capable of dismantling the structures of oppression. Central to Hampton's worldwide view was the understanding that true change required unity across racial and socio-economic lines. His vision extended beyond the confines of traditional racial politics, encapsulated in his famous call for a Rainbow Coalition that would bring together diverse groups in a shared struggle against systemic injustice. This was not merely a rhetorical flourish. Hampton actively sought alliances with organizations like the Young Lords and the Young Patriots, recognizing that solidarity was the key to confronting the multifaceted nature of oppression. A cornerstone of Hampton's philosophy was the Black Panthers Party 10-point program, a manifesto that outlined the party's demands for justice, equality, and an end to police brutality. The program was more than a list of grievances. It was a blueprint for a just society, emphasizing the need for decent housing, education, and an end to police violence. Hampton's eloquent articulation of these demands resonated not only with the Black community, but with a broad coalition of individuals who saw in these principles a path toward a more equitable future. Hampton's ideas were not confined to theoretical discourse. They were translated into action through the Black Panther Party's community programs. The Free Breakfast for Children program, initiated by the Panthers under Hampton's leadership, exemplified his belief in addressing immediate needs while advocating for broader systemic change. By providing a tangible service to communities in need, the Panthers under Hampton demonstrated that activism could be a force for positive, tangible transformation. A central tenet of Hampton's philosophy was the rejection of reformist measures that merely tinkered with the edges of systemic injustice. He advocated for a radical restructuring of society, challenging the very foundations of inequality. Hampton's speeches, infused with passion and a keen understanding of history, inspired a generation to question the status quo and envision a world where justice was not a distant ideal but a lived reality. In his brief but impactful life, Hampton left an indelible mark on the struggle for civil rights and social justice. His ideas, rooted in the soil of grassroots activism, continue to reverberate in movements fighting against oppression. The legacy of Fred Hampton is not just a historical artifact, but a living testament to the enduring power of ideas that challenge, inspire, and propel us toward a more just and FBI's perception and COINTELPRO. As Fred Hampton's influence within the Black Panther Party grew, so did the anxiety within the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The agency, led by J. Edgar Hoover, viewed the Black Panthers as a radical and subversive organization that posed a threat to the established order. Hampton, with his charismatic leadership and unifying philosophy, became a focal point of the FBI's attention, drawing the ire of the agency's infamous COINTELPRO. The FBI's perception of Hampton was rooted in a deeply entrenched fear of Black liberation movements that challenged the status quo. Hampton's ability to unite disparate groups under the banner of the Black Panther, coupled with his articulate advocacy for systemic change, marked him as a potent force in the eyes of the FBI. The agency, known for its covert and often illegal activities, saw Hampton as a charismatic leader capable of mobilizing a broad coalition that transcended racial and class boundaries. COINTELPRO, initiated by Hoover in 1956, was ostensibly created to combat communist influence in the United States. However, its tactics went far beyond monitoring and infiltrating alleged subversive groups. It actively sought to disrupt and dismantle movements deemed threatening to the existing power structure. Hampton and the Black Panthers found themselves squarely in the crosshairs of COINTELPRO. The FBI's tactics against Hampton were both insidious and ruthless. Undercover agents infiltrated the Black Panther Party, gathering intelligence and sowing discord within the organization. False rumors and internal strife were strategically engineered to weaken the party from within. The goal was not merely to monitor the Panthers, but to neutralize their effectiveness as a political force. Hampton's growing influence and his success in building alliances posed a direct challenge to the FBI's narrative of a divided and easily conquerable opposition. The agency, known for its historical hostility towards Black leaders who advocated for substantial change, saw Hampton as a figure who could galvanize a mass movement capable of challenging the entrenched structures of power. The infamous raid on Hampton's apartment on December 4, 1969, stands as a stark testament to the FBI's determination to silence him. In a pre-dawn assault, heavily armed law enforcement officers stormed Hampton's residence, resulting in a tragic and fatal confrontation. Hampton, just 21 years old, was killed in his sleep, and the official narrative painted the incident as a necessary response to an armed threat. The FBI's perception of Hampton as a threat, while rooted in paranoia and racism, also reflected a recognition of his effectiveness as a leader and organizer. The fear of a united, multiracial coalition demanding systemic change was a specter that haunted the corridors of power, and Hampton embodied that potential in a way that made him a primary target. COINTELPRO's campaign against Hampton did not end with his death. The program continued its efforts to destabilize and discredit the Black Panther Party, leaving a lasting impact on the organization's ability to function cohesively. The FBI's actions against Hampton, though veiled in the rhetoric of national security, were a blatant and unconstitutional assault on the right to dissent and advocate for change. The legacy of COINTELPRO and the FBI's persecution of Fred Hampton underscored the lengths to which those in power will go to suppress movements that challenge the established order. Hampton's life and the FBI's relentless campaign against him serve as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for justice and the persistent need to confront and dismantle systems of oppression. Controversial raid and death. The night of December 3, 1969, would etch itself into the annals of American history, marking the tragic and controversial end to the life of Fred Hampton. As he lay asleep in his apartment on Chicago's West Side, a clandestine operation was already in motion, an operation that would culminate in a violent and deadly raid that would shock the nation and reverberate through the ongoing struggle for civil rights. The stage was set for what would become one of the most contentious incidents of the era. Hampton, just 21 years old, had become a powerful voice for justice and equality, a unifying figure within the Black Panther Party whose influence extended well beyond the streets of Chicago. The authorities, however, viewed him through a lens of fear and perceived threat. In the early hours of December 4, 1969, a tactical unit composed of officers from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, the Chicago Police Department, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation executed a raid on Hampton's apartment. The operation was shrouded in secrecy, with the intention of catching the Panthers off guard. What transpired in the ensuing moments would become the subject of intense scrutiny, debate, and controversy for years to come. The official narrative painted the raid as a necessary response to an imminent threat. Law enforcement claimed they were met with gunfire upon entering the apartment, necessitating a swift and forceful response. However, subsequent investigations and revelations would cast doubt on the veracity of this account, exposing a more sinister and premeditated reality. As the officers stormed Hampton's residence, they unleashed a barrage of gunfire, killing not only Hampton, but also Mark Clark, another prominent Panther. The scale of force used and the circumstances surrounding the incident raised troubling questions about the true nature of the raid. Autopsy reports and forensic evidence contradicted the official version of events, suggesting that the Panthers were not the aggressors, but rather the victims of a calculated assault. The controversial raid on Hampton's apartment underscored the lengths to which authorities were willing to go to suppress Black activism and dissent. It revealed a systemic and coordinated effort to neutralize a charismatic leader whose message of unity and empowerment posed a direct challenge to the status quo. The events of that night ignited a wave of protest and calls for justice, amplifying the voices demanding accountability for the wrongful deaths of Hampton and Clark. The aftermath of the raid saw legal battles, investigations, and a re-evaluation of law enforcement tactics. The revelations of COINTELPRO's involvement in the events leading up to the raid further deepened the sense of betrayal and injustice. The incident became a rallying cry for those advocating for an end to police brutality and the unchecked power of government agencies. Fred Hampton's controversial raid and subsequent death served as a stark reminder of the systemic challenges faced by Black leaders and activists during a tumultuous period in American history. The echoes of that fateful night reverberate through the ongoing struggle for justice, inspiring continued efforts to dismantle oppressive systems and build a more equitable society. Legacy and impact. Fred Hampton's legacy transcends the tragic circumstances of his death, extending far beyond the confines of Chicago's West Side. His life, though cut short at the age of 21, left an indelible mark on the fight for civil rights, equality, and justice in America. The impact of his ideas, activism, and unyielding commitment to change continues to resonate, shaping the narratives of social justice movements for decades. At the core of Hampton's legacy is his role as a charismatic and visionary leader within the Black Panther Party. His ability to galvanize communities, bridge divides, and articulate a vision for a more just society set him apart. Hampton was not merely a symbol of resistance. He was a pragmatic and strategic thinker, advocating for tangible improvements in the lives of Black Americans. One of Hampton's enduring contributions was his emphasis on coalition building. Recognizing the interconnectedness of various struggles, he sought alliances with other marginalized groups, fostering a sense of unity that transcended racial lines. The Rainbow Coalition, a groundbreaking alliance between the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, and the Young Patriots, exemplified Hampton's commitment to solidarity in the pursuit of common goals. The impact of Hampton's legacy extends beyond the borders of the United States. His life and activism inspired subsequent generations of activists, scholars, and artists around the world. The struggles for racial justice, equity, and human rights continue to draw inspiration from Hampton's unwavering commitment to challenging oppressive systems. In the face of adversity, Hampton's legacy endures as a beacon of hope and a call to action. His life serves as a reminder that individuals, even in the face of systemic oppression, have the power to ignite change and leave an enduring impact on the fight for justice. The legacy of Fred Hampton challenges us to confront injustice, build alliances, and envision a future where the principles he fought for become a reality for all.